Hey guys, how you doing? It's DayVeeJay again, back with another classic game review and retrospective. And as you heard me say at the end of the last video, those of you who made it that far at least, and if you haven't seen it, I recommend you do so, you'll love it, it's a classic. But anyway, I figured I'd return to my roots and take a look at some more PS1 games, so here we are. And today we're looking at another beloved title that I never got the chance to experience back in the day, Driver, You Are the Wheelman. Yeah, I missed out on the original Driver because, I was too young for naughty games where you break the law, and didn't come in until a few years later with Driver 3, which, yeah, that was a thing. We might get to that one someday. But how does one of the all-time classics of the PS1 library hold up today? Well, let's slip on our finest driving gloves, ooh, these feel nice, and find out. But before we do that, real quick guys, we're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you enjoy my content and have yet to subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it if you would do so. And also, make sure to turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And with that insipid dreck out of the way, let's get into it. So Driver, or Driver, You Are the Wheelman, was developed by Reflections Interactive and published by GT Interactive in 1999. And don't worry about forgetting that, since they see fit to remind you at every single loading screen. Wow guys, must be pretty proud of this, huh? It was on PlayStation, Windows, Mac, and there was also a version on Game Boy Color. So we'll get started and come to the main menu, where you'll notice that we have quite a few options. We've got Undercover, aka the main campaign, car chases, oh that sounds like fun, driving games, cheats, high scores, etc. And over here we've got Training. Training? Ain't nobody got time for that, I want to get into the action. Oh, but hold your horses there, petrolhead. You're gonna be eating those words real soon. Yeah, this isn't the type of game where you can just pick up and play. Oh no. Why? Oh, we'll find that out soon enough. Oh yes, we will. So we choose Undercover and get a brief cutscene to introduce our main character, John Tanner, a New York cop and former race driver who just happens to be the best driver on the force, and who's been asked to go undercover in the Miami underworld where there's meant to be some kind of big job going down, and we need to find out what. So we've arrived in Miami, met this guy Rufus or whatever, who's meant to be our way into this murky hive of scum and villainy. And first things first, we've got to show him our skills. And oh yeah, I never played this back in the day, but even I know about this bit, as most gamers do. Yeah, it's a similar case to Natalia from GoldenEye 007, where even if you've never played that game, you've still probably heard of her due to how annoying she is. And this is pretty much the same, since this bit is infamous for how ball-crushingly hard and rage-inducing it is. And why is that? Well, let's take a look, shall we? So we're inside this parking garage, we've got a list of moves or tricks we need to do to pass, and we've got to do it all in just 1 minute. But wait a minute, how do I do the tricks? It doesn't tell you anything, I don't even know the controls. Oh well, tough shit, dickhead. Should have done the training, shouldn't ya? So yeah, you've pretty much got no choice but to go back to the training if you're to have any hope of passing this shit. Well, that shouldn't be too bad, right? Oh, just you wait. So we select Training, and as you can see, we've got 2 courses to choose from, one of which just happens to be the exact same car park as in the single player, so we might as well do that. And to be completely honest, this has got to be some of the most ridiculous, asinine, galaxy brain bullshit I've ever come across in my whole life. So we first get a demonstration, which is just a video of, I guess, a developer running the exact same course and making it look like a piece of piss because they've probably played through it over 100 times so they can do it perfectly by heart. We've got the same list of tricks in the top right corner, and in the left you've got the PlayStation controller with the buttons lighting up to tell you how to do the tricks. But they flash by so quick that you've either got to be some kind of fucking savant who can memorize shit down to a T after seeing it just once, or have a pen and paper by your side so you can write this shit down. It doesn't even tell you which buttons do what. Like what's accelerate and what's brake. You've just got to figure that shit out from watching the controller. But it's even worse than that, since you've got the car in the centre, the trick list in one corner and the controller in the other, so you've got to have 3 eyes to take in everything happening in front of you. You've literally got to be watching the trick list so you know what trick's being done, the centre of the screen so you know what it's meant to look like, and then the controller so you know what buttons to press, which again flash by faster than the fucking flash. Like, how in the fuck are you supposed to learn this shit from that? Again, unless you're fucking Data from Battlestar 5 or some shit. That, or you just watch the fucking thing over and over and over again until it's just seared into your mind's eye for all eternity, like I did. So yeah, like I said, this is some of the most ridiculously unreasonable shit I've ever seen in a game. Seriously, what absolute wazzock thought this was a good idea? Could they not have slowed it down a bit to make it easier to take in? Or let us do each move individually first before doing them all together? Fucking FromSoft games hold your hand more than this shit. So, once again, to the total fucking weapon who signed off on this bull wank. But yeah, once you've gone through the training a bunch of times so that you've got, I don't know, at least a half decent hang of it, then it's time to try the real thing. So yeah, let's just try and get through this shit, shall we? Oh, fuck off! Fuck, man! Fuck you, man! Piss off! Oh man, for fuck's sake! You motherfucker! Oh, fuck off! Fuck you! Fuck you! You fucking cocksucker! Fuck off! Oh, come on, fuck off! Oh, how weird, man, what the fuck? Fuck you! Suck a dick! Oh my, oh, this is bullshit. You fucking prick! Fuck this game so fucking hard. You fucking piece of shit! Oh, how it? Fuck you! Oh, fuck you! I hate this. I fucking hate this. It's easier to pass your fucking test in real life. Oh yeah, not only do you have to get through this shit in less than a minute, as you can see, you've also got a limited number of times that you're allowed to crash the car. Yeah, if you hit something like 4 times, the car's totaled and you've got to start again. And of course, as with apparently every other game I play, if so much as a single solitary atom of the paint job comes into contact with just about anything else, it pretty much counts as crashing into it at 50 miles an hour. So you get just 4 scratches or dents in the bodywork and apparently the car's just unusable now. What the fuck, man? So yeah, it may feel like putting your balls in a bench vise and slowly tightening it to bursting point, but with enough time and patience, you'll eventually pass this shit. Although I can't say how much will be left of your sanity. I know I didn't come out of this shit unchanged. But anyway, once you've done that, I guess you're up to the fucking standards and you get the job. And you can bet your fucking ass I'm saving the fucking game. I'm never doing that shit again for the rest of my fucking life. So we just choose a block, enter our name, and hey, what do you know? 9 letters right there. I guess someone did it right on PS1 after all. So yeah, Nightfire and everything or nothing. What's your excuses, huh? And after all that shite, we can finally get into the game properly, where we find ourselves in, oh, I guess this is meant to be our apartment. We've got our bed, answering machine, bathroom in case we need to take a shit, I guess. So yeah, you can just move around here to choose from various options, kinda like what we had in the first Action Man game. Although of course, the greatest hero of them all had some much nicer digs than this. So you've got to come over here to the answering machine where it says get a new job to, yeah, get a job. What you try to say like? Basically, you'll have a few messages from some less than reputable types who want to make use of your services, and apparently you're all dumb enough to leave a trail of evidence leading right back to themselves. First rule, if you're doing something that ain't exactly legal, don't talk about that shit on the phone, numbnuts! Everyone knows that! Amateurs. But anyway, you listen to the messages. I mean, if you really want to. Didn't take me long to start skipping through them. And then you just select the job you want to do, and then it's straight into the action. Finally, we're only almost 10 minutes into the fucking video. So now we're on our first job, where we've got to be the getaway driver for a bank heist. And as such, we've got to get over to the bank as quickly as possible. And as we can see, we've got quite a lot going on screen here. We've got our mini-map down in the corner, we've got our timer telling us how long we've got to get to our objective, and then we have our damage and felony meters. Damage is basically our health. When that fills up, the car's a write-off and you fail, and felony is our wanted level. The more that fills up, the bigger the hard-on the local authorities have for you. So you just drive on over to the bank, pick up the robbers, which, why would you go to the job without the getaway vehicle? I mean, how do you even get here in the first place? What, did you get the fucking bus or something? Then you just drive the guys back to their lockup or whatever, avoiding the cops, and there you go, job done. And yeah, that's pretty much the main game. You check your messages, you select a job, you do it. But even though that may sound pretty simple, you'll quickly find that getting through this game is anything but simple. Since it's not just the training bit that's a ball ache, it's the whole entire fucking game! So what makes me say that? Well, it largely comes down to the felony meter and wanted system. See, as you're cruising through the city on your way to whatever job you're doing, you'll notice these white cone-looking things on the minimap. What are those, you ask? Well, those are the fine folks with the local constabulary, the boys in blue, the fuzz, 5-0, the old bill, you get the picture. On the lookout for any local troublemakers to throw in the slammer, and if you don't want that to happen to you, you've either got to stay out of their way or obey the rules of the road, both of which, as it turns out, are a lot easier said than done. So yeah, if you don't want the cops to come after you and to keep that felony meter empty, you've got to obey the highway code, or at least when they're nearby. That means no speeding, running red lights, crashing into other vehicles, keeping to your side of the road, etc. And well, basically, you know in GTA where for a laugh you decide to obey the traffic laws and drive properly? You know, we've all done it at one point or another, and it usually only lasts for a couple minutes at most. Why? Because it's fucking boring and annoying, but at least there you don't actually have to, unlike here. So yeah, that's irritating. I mean, we play driving games so we can drive how we wish we could in real life. As fast as we want, smashing shit out the way, not having to stop for red lights, bouncing doddery old fuckers off the hood of our stolen Ferrari. You know, good old wholesome fun. So why have you got to ruin it by bringing real life into it? Real life's boring, says the guy who loved Red Dead 2 and didn't have a problem with the insane level of realism in that game, but that's a completely different case. Now you might say, well, I don't see what the problem is. Just slow down and behave when the cops are nearby and speed up again when they're gone. Which, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. But there are a couple problems with that. One, as I pointed out earlier, the missions are timed, which usually doesn't make any sense anyway and is just an arbitrary way to increase the challenge. But you really don't have that long to get to your objective, which is being wasted every time you've got to slow down or stop to keep the fuckers off your back. And it's not much better if you let them chase you, cause a lot of the time you've got to lose them before you can go to where you need to. So then you're having to waste time driving around all over the place trying to get rid of them. Which wouldn't have been quite so bad if it weren't for the second problem. The bastards are fucking everywhere! You can barely go 30 seconds without running into one. And yeah, you've got the minimap to tell you where they are so you can stay out of their way or take an alternate route. That's all well and good. But since the draw distance in pop-in is, in a word, absolutely fucking dreadful, half the time they'll just appear in front of you and you've barely got a couple seconds to slow down, especially if they're coming the other way. And it's not like you've got to be going a million miles an hour either. Nah, if you pass the wankers at barely any more than a snail's pace, then that's too much apparently. Which wouldn't have been too bad if you had a speedometer or something. But no, you just have to guess how fast you're going and hope it's not too much. So if you don't feel like getting chased all over the shop every time you cross paths with old PC Plod, you've just got to slow down to a crawl and then kinda just gently tap X so you can keep going without stopping in the middle of the street. Cause yeah, that's not annoying at all. Then sometimes the twats will just come after you for literally no reason whatsoever. Seriously, there were times where I got a wanted level and I have no idea what I did wrong. Like, fuck off, you pricks. So yeah, I think Delboy said it best.
There's never a copper around when you need one. The sods are always there when you don't need them.
It's the worst when you come to a red light with a fucking busy sitting there, cause then you've got to make a choice. Do I want to stop and waste time waiting for the fucker to turn green, or do I want to just speed past the guy and get a wanted level and just hope I can lose him before getting to wherever it is I'm going and still have enough time left? But at least if you choose to wait, if you're lucky, when the light turns green, the bastard's going a different way to you and fucks off so you can get back to tear ass at your objective. But if you're on a freeway or whatever they call them across the pond and you get stuck behind one of the arseholes, you've got nowhere else to go, so you've either just got to stay behind and waste time or speed past them and get yourself wanted. And when you inevitably end up doing that, what then? Well, it's not complicated. All you've really got to do is put your foot down, or finger rather, and just tear ass it out of there as fast as you can. And once you get far enough away, they'll just be like, nope, he's gone, vanished into thin air. Although you've still got your wanted level and all the cops in the city will now be on the lookout for you. Nothing you can do about that. There's no paint spray or anything, so you'll just have to take even more care to avoid the pigs. So anyway, as you do more jobs, you progress through the story and end up going to different cities like San Francisco, LA and New York. But even though it's nice to get a change of scenery and they do a decent job of emulating the real thing, in the end it really doesn't matter all that much, since due to its inherent nature basically, the game is hella repetitive. Yeah, there's a reason why throughout my whole life as a gamer I can count the number of driving games I've played and enjoyed pretty much on one hand. And that's just cause, like with most sports games, I usually find them to be boring and repetitive. Since like in those games, once you've played one track or race or whatever, you've pretty much seen the whole game, although not to as great an extent. But that's kind of the case here as well. I mean, even though the context or circumstances may differ, most jobs boil down to the same basic premise. You just drive there, pick up these guys or this car or whatever, drive back here, escape from the cops, rinse and repeat. You can't get out of your car, so virtually all these missions play out in exactly the same way. There's no real combat or anything, although there are a couple missions where you've got to chase and smash people off the road by ramming into them. Oh yeah, that's a whole other load of bullshit in and of itself. Yeah, you'd think this might be fun, but no, they managed to make it annoying as fuck as well, since if the guy gets too far ahead, specifically if they go beyond the draw distance, which as I've already mentioned is insanely short, you immediately lose them and fail the mission, even though you can still see the fucker on the minimap! It's seriously to the point where if you crash or get spun around or whatever, you might as well just restart because you won't have enough time to get back on track before the guy disappears. So yeah, that's a load of barnacles. The only truly unique mission I found is the one where you've got to smash up the restaurants or pizza parlors or whatever by crashing your car through them. That was literally the only mission that didn't have anything else quite like it. That and the one where you've got to scare the guy in the taxi, I guess. Although it's not like I can get that cross about it. I mean, there's only so much you can do when you're stuck inside your vehicle for the whole game. But even though it doesn't take long to become super repetitive, that doesn't stop it from getting super fucking annoying as well, as it becomes more challenging. How, you ask? Well, again, it pretty much comes down to the cops. Oh yeah, cops being a bunch of annoying pricks. Who'd have thought? See, you get missions like these where once again you've just got to pick up some guys who've just robbed a bank or jewelry store or some shit, and again for some reason have gone to the job without the getaway driver, but then you've got to escape from the cops who are just instantly there, like they just teleported in and immediately start smashing you up. But the thing is, you've got to break more laws to get away, which raises your wanted level further, causing the fuckers to become more and more aggressive, so then they're just constantly ramming into you. And I don't mean just trying to run you off the road. Nah, they'll full on smash into you head on from the opposite direction, which, yeah, I know American police can be pretty aggressive. I've seen world's wildest police chases, but they don't just go plowing into you with no regard for their own safety and well-being. And of course, every time they hit you, it raises your damage meter. And I mean every single time. Yeah, every little tap, even if it's nowhere near the engine. Like if they ram into the back of you, that still adds to the damage. In addition to all the harm you're doing to yourself, since you're blasting along at 100 miles an hour, smashing into half the shit in front of you. So yeah, if you've got almost a full meter but then get just one more tap or some traded paint, then your poor little car's just like,
that's all I can stand. I can't stand no more.
It's worst when they drive into you and then keep pushing you along, since all the while your damage meter's going up and up and up, just as long as they remain in contact with you, so you can pretty much lose half your health, I guess, in one go. And not only that, but the felony meter's going up as well. Yeah, your wanted level goes up even when they crash into you, or make you crash into something else, and then you'll hear over the police radio, suspect just hit another vehicle, and it's like, no I didn't, you made me do that, you lying motherfuckers. And you may also be wondering, as your wanted level increases, does anything else happen? Like, do you get different agencies coming after you? Do they get the army in if it goes all the way to the top? Well, no, but in addition to becoming more aggressive, you do start getting police roadblocks that just magically materialise right in front of you, which a lot of the time you've got no choice but to smash your way through, further damaging yourself in the process. And we haven't even gotten to the vehicle handling yet, which, it's okay. It ain't great, but it's decent enough, I suppose. It's not the worst I've come across. You use a few different cars throughout the game, all of which handle a little differently. Like some are a bit lighter and faster, while others are, slower and heavier. But overall, none of them are really that great. They're either just really heavy and clunky, so it takes a while to turn and gain speed, or they're too light and sensitive, so it's really easy to go crashing into shit. And on top of that, you've got different weather conditions, like sometimes it's raining, which makes the road slippery and the cars even harder to control, so that's driving the damage meter up even further. And you know what, all this might not have been quite so bad if you didn't have so far to go to complete your objective, but as you get further into the game, you also have to go further and further to finish jobs. Like in some, they've got you going from pretty much one end of the city to the other. All the while, of course, you've got the cops all over you like the scabies you got from that last night out in Sunderland, and they just gradually whittle you down until your fucking car conks out, meaning you've pretty much got to get through it all while hitting as little as possible, and that includes minor bumps and scrapes, which if I haven't already made abundantly clear, is a lot easier said than done. So it really doesn't help that even when you do manage to give the fuckers the slip, they can easily catch up again at any moment. Remember what I was saying about them being all over the place? Yeah, that hasn't changed, except now they're actively looking for you. See, when you're wanted, you may notice that the cones on the minimap widen a bit, indicating that the wankers are on the lookout for you, which as I've also mentioned, doesn't change even when you lose them. And once you enter one of those cones, the cops immediately know where you are and come after you again, even if the cops themselves don't see you and you don't see them. See, the cones also cover buildings, like if there's a cop car around the corner from you, but you're still detected as soon as you enter them. So yeah, the cops can see through walls pretty much. That's just great, isn't it? And yeah, you can use the minimap to spot and avoid them, but that only goes so far when the bastards will appear right in front of you and you've got nowhere to go, including when you're literally round the corner from your destination. Yeah, great, thanks. Oh, and if you thought it couldn't get any worse, while you're tearing your hair out trying to get through this shit, you're also forced to listen to the stupid ass fucking dialogue from the daft fuckers you just picked up, wittering on at you just to state the blatant fucking obvious. Seriously, every few seconds it's like, get us out of here, or we got a tail, man, lose the tail, man. Like, yeah, thanks. What the fuck you think I'm trying to do, dickhead? Yeah, you can bet I was saving the game after practically every job, cause I'm fuck going through any of this shit again. But would you believe that they even managed to make that annoying as fuck as well? Yeah, it's cool that they give you enough letters for your name, but you know what's not cool? Having to type it out again every single time you want to save, which may not sound too bad, but it soon gets irritating when you're saving the game after every other job. Yeah, it wasn't long before my name went from DayVeeJay to Davey to DayVeeJay to just exclamation mark. It's like the magic monkey paw from that Treehouse of Horror episode. You know, where it grants wishes but there's always a downside. Like wishing for 9 letters for your save profile. That's great, but then you've got to type them out every time you want to save.
Oh, foul accursed thing! What demon from the depths of hell created thee?
Now, to be fair, if a job is giving you so much trouble that you really can't beat it, it's not the end of the world, since as I mentioned earlier, every time you check your answering machine, there's multiple messages regarding different jobs that you can choose from. So if you can't beat a job, you can just quit and choose another one, which I admittedly ended up doing a couple times. And the fact that you have multiple jobs to choose from does mean that the game kind of has a branching storyline, since the missions you choose affect the ones that are offered to you later, which does give you more replay value, even though there aren't actually any substantial changes to the story. So yeah, overall I didn't find the main campaign to be particularly enjoyable, but that's not all the game has to offer. There are a few other game modes, like you've got Free Ride, which is just the same except there's no objectives to complete, so all there's really to do is just drive around and get in chases with the cops, which to be honest is probably the only time where I really had fun. Just being able to fuck around with the cops without the stress of having objectives or time limits to worry about. It's just a shame that there's not much else to do. I mean, it's not like there's anything to find or whatnot. And on top of that, there's also the driving games, where you've got a bunch of different challenges, although a lot of them are just repeats of objectives from the main game. Like Pursuit, which is just the chase and smash bits. Getaway, where you've got the cops on your arse and have to escape as quickly as you can. You've got Crosstown Checkpoint, where you've got to, drive through all the checkpoints. Trailblazer, where you've got a load of flags to drive through, each one adding a little bit of time back onto the clock. And then Survival, where you've got tons of cops trying to smash you up, and you've just got to survive as long as you can. Yeah, I bet that's a whole lot of fun. And then there's Dirt Track, which, it's just you going around a bunch of dirt tracks as fast as you can without knocking over any of the cones. Yeah, fun. So while it's cool that there's a few extra game modes, it is disappointing that there doesn't seem to have been much imagination put into them. I mean, this was where they could really go all out and have things like street races or destruction derbies or stunt challenges or whatever. Just get really crazy with it, instead of just having a few bog standard challenges that are mostly just rehashes of stuff in the main game that you'll probably only play like once or twice and then forget about. And I'd also be remiss not to mention the director mode. Yeah, you thought GTA 5 was the first to do that? Man, Driver was doing that shit while GTA was still suckling at its mother's teat. So yeah, every time you finish a mission or just pause the game, you'll see the option to enter film director mode, which when you do shows a full replay of the action up until that point, which you can then play around with by adding in different camera angles to turn it into a proper little cinematic movie. So yeah, that's pretty cool, and groundbreaking for the time. I mean, I couldn't find any other games that had that, both back then and even now when photo mode is pretty much an obligatory feature, except for GTA 5 of course. And yeah, it works pretty well. You just watch the clip back, you've got a bunch of controls like pause, fast forward, etc, and then you can add in different cameras as you go. There's a couple angles to choose from. You can have first person from both your perspective and that of the cops, the chase camera that tracks along with you, and then the static tripod camera, all of which you can manipulate to get the exact right angle you want. And once you're done adding in all your cameras, you just save it and then you can watch it back in the car chase tab. But even though it's fun to play around with, it does have a couple problems. First of all, there's no rewind button, except for the one that sends you all the way back to the start. So if you wanted to add in a new camera but missed the spot where you wanted to put it, you've then got to go right back to the start and fast forward all the way through again. Just why? Why was it so hard to add in a rewind button? Then second, when you're playing around with the chase and tripod cameras, it can be a bit slow and awkward getting them where you want them to be. Like they just feel really heavy and unwieldy. And finally, once you've finished editing your cinematic masterpiece and go to save it, the amount of space they take up on the memory card is honestly fucking ridiculous. I mean, the one I made was only like 2 minutes long, but fuck me, it needed 2 fucking blocks, in addition to the one the game saved on. Fuck, these kids nowadays have no idea how good they've got it with their fucking PS5 Pros and 2TB SSD drives. You just imagine them having to make do with one of these little pieces of shit. So yeah, if it isn't already clear by this point, I'm not really a huge fan of the gameplay, but what about the presentation side? Surely there's gotta be something positive I can say there, right? Well, while obviously the graphics are extremely dated by this point, the game was and still is impressive technically for its day. Back then, it was no small feat to be able to recreate not just 1, but 4 cities for you to drive around in, even though there are of course some glaring limitations, namely the fact that you can only see a small way out in front before buildings start popping in out of nowhere, which does wonders for immersion, but that's just a fact of the limits of what was possible back then. I did like some of the lighting and weather effects, like the light reflections on your car and on the road when it's raining. The vehicle models are decent enough. They are a little jagged and blocky looking, but it's not too bad. The environments, particularly the city streets, are pretty well detailed, again for the time, and it's cool that they managed to get each city to somewhat resemble their real life counterparts, including having a lot of recognisable landmarks. The voice acting, in all honesty, is some of the worst I've heard in all these games. By itself, the line reading is just really awkward and stilted, but then you've got half the actors putting on daft, stereotypical 70s sounding voices or going out of their way to try and sound sinister and intimidating, and it's mostly just annoying to listen to. But again, it's not like they've got very good material to work with, since all the dialogue is just daft 70s sounding lingo, which people from the 70s only really talked like in parodies of the 70s. So yeah, it's all just really cheesy and archaic slang, and they use so much of it that there's literally cutscenes where I could barely understand a single word of what was being said, and I thought fucking Zoomers were hard to understand. Oh, and I like that in any cutscene where you're talking on the phone, which is about half of them, as soon as you hold the receiver to your mouth, it goes to a freeze frame, cause I guess they couldn't be asked to animate the rest of the cutscene. Hey, work smart, not hard. That's my motto. The soundtrack's pretty decent. It's got kind of a 70s rock sound to it, which I guess is no surprise given that the game is inspired by the old crime and car chase flicks of the 70s, like the French Connection and the like. Hell, there's even a mission which is literally just the L train chase from that film, and the infamous car park bit is lifted right from 1978's The Driver. It even plays out pretty much the same too. But yeah, the soundtrack does a good job of complementing the action and making you feel like you're playing through one of those old films, even though it does get a bit grating when you're hearing the same tracks over and over again, what with you having to do the same missions over and over again. So anyway, as you continue through the story, you get closer to figuring out what this big job is, leading you into a conspiracy involving crime lords, politicians and the FBI. And it's okay, I guess. At least it's got more going on than most other games of the time. But then we make it to the final mission where it all comes together, and turns out this big job we've been hearing so much about is actually a hit. But not just any hit, because turns out the target's none other than the President of the US of A himself. Yeah, I'd say that's completely ridiculous, but given recent events, it doesn't seem quite so far-fetched anymore, does it? But we can't kill the President. I mean, we're a cop, right? So what do? Well, just drive off with the guy, of course, and feel the full weight of the police and Secret Service crashing down on our heads. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. So yeah, this is where the game goes from being fucked up and annoying to virtually unfucking playable. Yeah, if you thought the cops were aggressive before, get ready, cause now they're practically suicidal. Seriously, they'll just come crashing into you like fucking kamikazes with no regard for the safety of themselves or the leader of the free world, who, let's not forget, we've got riding along in the back with us. Now don't get me wrong, I'm sure that if one were to kidnap the President, the reaction from law enforcement would certainly be, intense. But they wouldn't just instantly lose any and all sense of self-preservation, or start trying to kill the guy they're meant to be protecting. So yeah, pretty much as soon as you get by this roadblock of taxis for some reason, you just get smashed around all over like dodgems on steroids. You can barely go a second without them plowing into the back of you, which then sends you careening all over the place. And then they'll pin you into a corner and just keep on smashing you, driving up the damage meter until you're fucked. And of course, the wankers give you the slowest car with the worst handling in the whole game, so it's practically impossible to outrun the fuckers. And even if you manage to, you've just got more appearing out of nowhere in front of you. The only saving grace is that this piece of shit can actually take a lot more damage than any of the other vehicles, but that's just cause you literally wouldn't be able to make it 2 fucking feet otherwise. I mean, just look at this shit. Fuck me. Jesus Christ. Oh my god. Yeah, this mission's fucking ridiculous. I've got no fucking clue how anyone's supposed to do this shit. So once again, this is another game I wasn't able to beat without being a naughty little cheater. Yeah, I know, sue me. So yeah, I eventually got so fucking sick that I just whacked in the invincibility cheat and did it that way. But even that almost wasn't enough, since even though they can't damage you, the enemies still smash into you so hard they can easily flip you over and fuck you up that way, or pin you into a corner or an alcove and you can't get back out. I was literally a fucking cunt here from turning on the no police cheat as well, but no, I managed without it in the end. Barely. And it wasn't until after all that I realised, yeah, you can turn down the police aggression in the options menu. Yeah, didn't know that. But fuck me, it was only on medium? Jesus Christ, I shudder to think what it's like on fucking high. But anyway, you finally make it to this parking garage where you free the president and surrender to the cops and Secret Service who aren't far behind. Not really sure why you waited this long to do that, but whatever. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Your boss offers you your badge back, but since, I don't know, I guess you don't trust anyone anymore, you just walk away and then drive off into the sunset. And from what I've seen, this last bit can be different depending on which missions you chose. But in the end, it really doesn't matter. And yeah, that's that. So that was Driver, You Are the Wheelman on PS1, and in conclusion, man, some of you guys are really gonna hate me. Just like I really hate this fucking game! Yeah, I have no idea what people saw in this back in the day and what they're seeing it now, other than the fact that it was technically impressive for the time and there was nothing else quite like it back then. That's literally all it's got going for it in my humble opinion. It's annoying, clunky, tedious, repetitive, and overall it's just a total ball ache to play. You see Tanner's face in every single loading screen? Yeah, that's the face I was making pretty much the whole time I was playing this shit. Now, exaggerated anger aside, I wouldn't go so far as to call it a bad game, since it does have some good qualities, but it's certainly one of the most frustrating I've ever played. But if they just toned down the difficulty a bit, especially the fucking car park at the beginning, it would have been a lot more enjoyable, which is proven by the fact that I actually had fun with free mode, where you don't have objectives or time limits to worry about. So yeah, I know I would never have enjoyed this game back in the day, cause again, if you think I'm bad-tempered now, you should have seen me back then. But if you liked it, and still do, then yeah, good for you, more power to you. You just must have a shitload more patience than me. But yeah, it was well received at the time, again, mostly just cause it was impressive technically and there was naught else like it, and naturally that would lead to there being a bunch of sequels over the years, but pretty much due to the fact that it's been eclipsed by GTA, Driver as a series has sadly all but been forgotten. I mean, the last quote-unquote title in the series was a free-to-play mobile game what released 10 years ago, and considering the series is owned by Ubisoft, which yeah, they're having a great time of it at the moment, I don't predict us hearing from Driver again anytime soon. Whether that's for better or for worse, I'll let you be the judge. God damn it, my office has already been blown up once. Now I need to scan it for any surprises that some pissed off Driver fans might have left for me. Yeah, sorry guys, I hope I didn't offend you too much. Like I said, I guess I just don't have the same saint-like patience as you. But anyway, thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, then leave a like. If you didn't, and I suspect some of you will, then tell me to go fuck myself. We're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we're making good progress. In fact, we just recently passed the 700 mark. So if you enjoy my content and have yet to subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it if you would do so. And as always, thank you so much to everyone who already has. And also, I recently started a Patreon, so if you would like to support the channel further, please consider donating. See the linked video for more information. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.